What if the Buddha walked into your temple? Imagine this. The Buddha returns, not metaphorically, literally. He walks into a modern Buddhist temple, say in Japan or Tibet or Sri Lanka or California. He sees monks in ornate robes, giant statues of himself, chanting in languages he never spoke, doctrines he never taught, philosophies that contradict each other. Would he recognize any of it? Would he say, yes, this is my path? Or would he quietly walk away? One man, infinite interpretations. The historical Buddha didn't write books. He didn't build a temple. He didn't ordain thousands at once. He walked, he spoke, he adapted to each person's need. But after his death, everyone claimed him. And over time, the Buddha became many Buddhas, some peaceful, some wrathful, some cosmic, some silent. The problem, they all say, I am the real one. 3 main schools, 1 fractured body. Let's name the big 3. Theravada, the teaching of the elders, most conservative, rooted in the Pali Canon focus, individual liberation through monastic discipline. Mahayana, the great vehicle, emerged approximately 500 years later. Focus, universal salvation via the Bodhisattva ideal. Vajrayana, the diamond vehicle, Tibetan and esoteric branches, uses tantra, ritual, deity yoga, and symbolic initiation. Each of them believes it holds the clearest expression of the Buddha's intent, but their practices are so radically different, it's hard to believe they're referencing the same path, the myth of unity. Many Buddhists say all schools lead to the same truth, but let's be honest. Theravada says the Buddha is dead. Mahayana says he never died. His Dharma body still teaches. Vajrayana says you can visualize yourself as a deity and reach instant awakening. These aren't just stylistic differences. They are metaphysical contradictions. Can truth be both finite and eternal? Can enlightenment be gradual and sudden? Can selfhood be denied and yet transformed? How it all fractured. The first schism. The Buddha's death didn't bring peace. It brought politics. Within 100 years, the Sangha split. Why? Disagreements about rules, disputes over authority, conflicts between monastics and reformers. Out of that came schools. Out of schools came philosophies. Out of philosophies came scriptures. And slowly, the living voice of the Buddha was replaced by competing institutions. Buddhism as empire. Let's not forget, Buddhism spread through empires. Ashoka in India, Tang Dynasty in China, Tokugawa in Japan, Gelugpa in Tibet. Each time, rulers adapted Buddhism to serve their own needs. Theravada became a tool for kingship. Mahayana absorbed Confucian morality. Vajrayana fused with Bon and court rituals. And the Dharma turned into statecraft. The goal wasn't just liberation, it was loyalty. Cliffhanger, can one truth have many forms? So now I ask, can 3 radically different traditions all speak for the same man? If each school says, I'm right, does that make the others wrong? Or is the truth wider than any single tradition can hold? The Theravada claim, we are the original. Theravada means teaching of the elders. And they say, we preserved the original Dharma. Our texts are the closest to what the Buddha actually said. They rely on the Pali Canon, a massive collection of discourses, rules, and philosophical texts written centuries after the Buddha's death. But they claim fidelity through minimal ritual, strict monastic discipline, focus on personal liberation, arahantship. To many Theravadins, the rest of Buddhism is just deviation. The strengths of Theravada. Let's give credit where it's due. Theravada has an unbroken monastic lineage, preserves ancient meditation techniques like Vipassana, offers clarity, simplicity, and structure, centers on psychological realism and ethical rigor. It's no wonder it attracts Western mindfulness seekers, hardcore monastics, minimalist practitioners. To some, it feels like the closest you can get to what the Buddha actually practiced. The hidden dogmas of orthodoxy. But here's the danger. Theravada can become frozen. In preserving the past, it risks worshipping it. The canon becomes scripture. The monks become gatekeepers, and questioning turns into heresy. Ironically, the Buddha himself said, "Don't cling even to my words." Yet some Theravadins do exactly that, turning a path of freedom into a museum of form. Who gets left out? Theravada's focus on monasticism has a cost. It often excludes women, ordination barriers, lay people, seen as spiritually lower, those not fluent in Pali or ritual etiquette, and so awakening becomes a monastic luxury, not a universal possibility. The very path that was meant for all becomes a gated community for the pure, the Theravada paradox. Theravada says, we are preserving the Buddha's exact words. But let's ask, can you preserve something living by freezing it in time? Is spiritual truth a fossil or a flame? If the Buddha adapted his teachings to every listener, what happens when we stop adapting? We lose the very essence of the Dharma, direct experience. Cliffhanger. What happens when the original becomes untouchable? So now I ask, if your version is the closest to the original, does that make it the most alive or just the most rigid? Can Theravada light the way forward, or is it guarding a flame that's already gone out? Enter Mahayana, the Great Revolution. Several hundred years after the Buddha's death, something radical emerged. It said, seeking your own liberation is not enough. Enlightenment is meaningless if others still suffer. This was Mahayana, the great vehicle, its central figure, the Bodhisattva, one who could escape suffering, but chooses to stay and help others awaken. It wasn't just a school, it was a redefinition of the goal itself. From monks to myth, Theravada focused on monks. Mahayana opened the door to everyone, lay people, women, poets, sinners. It taught, Buddha nature is in all beings. You don't become enlightened, you uncover what's already there. This democratized the path, but it also brought in poetry, mythology, metaphysics. And suddenly, the Buddha became more than a man, a Buddha who never died. In Mahayana texts, the Buddha doesn't just teach, he performs miracles. He reveals infinite worlds. He speaks through cosmic forms. One sutra says, the Buddha never truly died. He only appears to die. This isn't the man from the forest. It's a cosmic being who manifests in every realm to awaken all sentient life. Beautiful, yes, but also a major doctrinal leap. Compassion as the new absolute Mahayana shifted the axis. The highest virtue was no longer wisdom, it was compassion, not escape the cycle, but return to help, not no self, but all selves are sacred. Even hell beings were seen as future Buddhas. Even demons had Buddha nature. This was radical love, but also a softer trap. If you're always helping others, do you ever help yourself awaken? The Bodhisattva ego trap. Here's the paradox. The Bodhisattva vows, I will not enter nirvana until all beings are free. But ask, who is this I? Isn't that clinging, just dressed in compassion? Some critics say Mahayana replaced ego of self with ego of savior. Helping others became a way to avoid facing one's own emptiness. It feels selfless, but is it, or is it another identity? Faith, fantasy, and freedom. Mahayana introduced practices like visualizing Buddhas, chanting for rebirth in pure lands, worshipping Avalokiteshvara or Amitabha. These helped millions, but also blurred the line between Buddhism and religion. It went from direct seeing to devotional faith, from mindfulness to mantra, from awakening to aspiration. Powerful, yes, but is it Buddhism? Cliffhanger. Can mythology lead to truth? So now I ask, if Mahayana expanded the Dharma, did it illuminate or dilute it? If everyone is already a Buddha, what's the point of the path? If compassion drives everything, what happens to wisdom? The diamond vehicle arrives, enter Vajrayana. The diamond vehicle, sharp, unbreakable, fast. It says, why take lifetimes to awaken when you can do it in a single moment? Also called Tantric Buddhism, this form emerged in India, flourished in Tibet, and promises a radical approach. Use the body, use desire, use everything as fuel for enlightenment. Sex, wrath, and ritual fire. Vajrayana isn't subtle. It uses wrathful deities, mandalas, and mantras, initiation rituals, guru devotion, tumo, dream yoga, and even sexual union. Yes, sex. Certain tantras speak of uniting with a consort to realize the emptiness of duality. To outsiders, it looks like blasphemy. To insiders, it's sacred. But where is the line between transformation and indulgence? The guru is the path in Vajrayana. You don't just study the Dharma, you embody it through your guru. The guru is the Buddha. The guru's word is truth. Without the guru, no liberation. This creates deep trust and deep danger. When the teacher becomes unquestionable, truth becomes personal property, and abuse gets cloaked in mysticism, sacred shortcut, or spiritual bypass. Vajrayana promises a faster path, but faster isn't always better. Is it a laser beam or a wildfire? Some students chase powers, siddhis, visions, altered states, and mistake them for awakening. But the Buddha never promised visions. He promised freedom. The paradox of form and emptiness, Vajrayana thrives on ritual, mudras, offerings, visualizations, complex deity systems, yet it claims all is empty. Then why so much form? Why build elaborate symbolic systems only to say they're illusions? Is this skillful means or spiritual theater? Tibetan Buddhism, empire, and esoterica. Much of what people call Tibetan Buddhism is Vajrayana. It's beautiful, it's deep, it's political. Tibet fused monastic rule with ritual hierarchy. The Dalai Lama became both king and guru, but when religion serves power, truth often becomes a servant too. Cliffhanger, can fire be tamed? So I ask, if Vajrayana offers the fastest way, why is it also the most dangerous? If everything is sacred, what protects us from sacred manipulation? Can desire really be used for liberation, or does it just wear a spiritual mask? Write your questions in the comments. You give me a like and a follow. I'll give you an answer. 3 vehicles, 3 different destinations. Let's line them up. Theravada, goal, nirvana, individual liberation, practice, monastic discipline, vipassana, view, Buddha is gone, self is an illusion. Mahayana, goal, enlighten all beings, practice, compassion, emptiness, bodhisattva, vow, view, Buddha is eternal. Everyone has Buddha nature, Vajrayana, goal, enlightenment in one lifetime, practice, tantra, guru yoga, ritual transformation, view, use desire, identity, and form to reach formlessness. These aren't just styles, they're metaphysical disagreements. One dharma or many. We're told they all teach the same truth, just in different ways. But is that honest? Theravada says nirvana is cessation. Mahayana says it's compassion in action. Vajrayana says it's a transmutation of all energies. That's not just flavor, that's essence. If someone says the self is gone, the self is sacred, the self can be transformed, they are not saying the same thing. Contradictions in ethics. Even ethics diverge. Theravada warns against sensuality. Mahayana tolerates gray zones for the sake of compassion. Vajrayana can use taboo, including sexuality, as a path. So what's moral? Celibacy, compassionate lying, ritual sex? What's dangerous in one school is sacred in another. Is that diversity or dissonance? What is the Buddha? Ask each school. Theravada, a historical man, now gone. Mahayana, an eternal principle. Vajrayana, a living force channeled through gurus and deities. Which is true? All three? None? Only one? What is the self? This is key. Theravada, no self. Anatta, complete negation. Mahayana, emptiness. Shunyata, self is relational illusion. Vajrayana, self is a tool to be shaped, then dissolved. But if you teach, kill the self, understand the self, use the self, you are training different minds and expecting different outcomes. What is awakening? Theravada says, freedom from rebirth. Mahayana says, realizing all things are empty and still loving them. Vajrayana says, becoming the deity and knowing it's all illusion. 3 awakenings, 3 archetypes. Which one is right? Or are we just choosing the one that matches our personality? Cliffhanger, can contradiction be sacred? So I ask, do contradictions reveal depth or confusion? Is the Dharma one path with many faces, or many paths wearing one face? Is Buddhism universal or tribal? The modern practitioner, lost in choice. Imagine being new to Buddhism today. You Google meditation, and you're hit with mindfulness apps, Tibetan chants, Theravada retreats, Zen poetry, YouTube gurus, TikTok monks, Tantra classes. Each says, this is the real Buddhism. But how do you know? How do you choose when every door claims to be the truth? Western Buddhism, or Buddhist West. In the West, Buddhism morphed again. Now we see therapy, Buddhism, productivity, Buddhism, psychedelic Buddhism, techno-Zen, trauma-informed Dharma. It helps people. But is it Buddhism? When mindfulness becomes stress relief, does it still point to liberation? When Zen becomes a style, does it still cut through illusion? Pick and mix, the spiritual buffet. Many today build their own practice, a little vipassana, a dash of mantra. Some Zen koans at a retreat in Bali, no lineage, no school, no rules. Is that freedom or confusion? Some say, why do I need a tradition? Others say, without roots, you're just floating. Can truth be self-curated? The trap of identity. Even now, many wear Buddhism like a brand. Tattoos of Buddhas, Instagram-worthy altars, spiritual but not religious bios, Dharma quotes in neon fonts. But ask, is this about liberation or image? Have we turned the path into aesthetics? Do we practice to awaken or to belong? The new orthodoxy, secularism. Another group says, strip Buddhism of culture, myth, and ritual. Keep only the psychology. They want no rebirth, no karma, no Buddha, just mindfulness and ethics. But is that Buddhism or something new wearing its skin? If you remove transcendence, what remains? Can a purely secular Dharma still liberate the quiet seekers? Still, there are those who don't follow trends. They meditate in silence, study in private, ask hard questions, follow no school, claim no title. They don't sell a brand. They don't post quotes. They just walk the path. Maybe they're closer to the Buddha than all the rest. Cliffhanger. Can we walk without a map? So I ask. In a world full of Buddhist brands, can you find truth without choosing a side? Can practice be genuine without tradition? Can you walk alone and still arrive? Did the Buddha design a system or plant a seed? Sometimes I wonder, was the Buddha a system builder, or was he a destroyer of systems? He gave no commandments. He asked questions. Be a lamp unto yourself. He didn't build an empire. He walked barefoot. Maybe we made the schools. Maybe he just offered silence. The Four Noble Truths, everyone's root. Despite differences, all schools echo this. There is suffering, there is a cause, there is an end, there is a path. Could this be the DNA of Buddhism? Beyond rituals, rebirths, and robes, the core insight remains. You suffer because you cling. And the antidote, let go. Maybe everything else is commentary. The tool is not the truth, Theravada says, simplicity. Mahayana says, compassion. Vajrayana says, transformation. But the Buddha said, don't cling even to the raft that took you across. Schools are rafts, not destinations. The more fiercely we defend them, the less free we become. Are we loyal to truth or to form, transcending style? One meditates in silence, one chants in Sanskrit, one visualizes wrathful gods, yet all may be pointing to the same. Suffering exists, the self is fluid, compassion matters, freedom is possible. Can we see beyond expression to essence? Tradition versus transmission. Tradition means lineage rules, structure, orthodoxy. Transmission means insight, awakening, breath presence. One can exist without the other, but both together are rare. Ask yourself, am I inheriting form or receiving flame? Beyond Buddhism, here's the final paradox. Maybe the goal of Buddhism is to transcend Buddhism. If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Don't worship the teacher. Realize the truth. The Buddha wasn't selling Buddhism. He was pointing to what is. All names fall away. All systems dissolve. What remains is seeing. Cliffhanger. Can we let it all go? So I ask, can you love a tradition without being trapped by it? Can you see differences without choosing sides? Can you hold the whole Dharma in your empty hand? The noise of 10,000 bells, so many schools, so many robes, so many rituals, so many answers. Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana. They sing like 10,000 temple bells, each a different note, but underneath, silence. That silence was always the real teacher. Stop asking which one is right. Here's the truth most won't say. No school is right. No school is wrong. Each arose in a context. Each met real human pain. Each pointed in its way to freedom. But none are final. None are absolute. The finger is not the moon. Awakening wears many faces. To one, it comes in silence. To another, in mantra. To a third, in heartbreak. Who are we to judge the shape of someone else's flame? The Dharma is not a building. It's a burning. What did the Buddha actually want? He didn't ask for statues. He didn't want temples. He never said, worship me. He said, see clearly. Let go. End suffering. He gave us tools, then told us not to cling to them. So why are we still clinging to names? Truth doesn't need a flag. We live in a time of identity. Buddhist versus non-Buddhist, Zen versus Theravada, Guru versus rebel, left versus right, east versus west. But the deepest truths don't carry passports. They appear where there is stillness, honesty, surrender, fire, not in institutions, in you. Your path begins when the map burns. Forget the names, forget the robes, forget even the Buddha. What remains? Breath, suffering, awareness, compassion, release. The real path is walked barefoot, and it begins where belief ends. So I leave you with no answers, only this. Can you live with the contradiction and still walk? Can you let go of needing to be right and still practice? Can you choose no school and still awaken? Can you sit in this moment and be free? Because maybe that was the only school the Buddha ever meant to teach.